Welcome back to another episode of Cobra Kai Companion. Peter, you guys, I say it all the time, very special interview. This one especially special from the previous ones because I got to meet Frank since the last time you guys heard him on in Cobra Kai companion. So Frank, welcome back. I
Thank
have
you.
been yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for your time as always. But I've kind of been I've shared it a few times now on the recordings. But I was like, I visited with Frank, and he was gonna put me in the Miyagi Dogi, and then Marty shows up for a fitting and ruins it. So
Yeah,
it,
Marty's a ruiner every
it
time.
it would have been so cool when Jacob's promo as Hawk came out, and that's when we got the reveal. If I also had that
Yeah,
picture, I would have been like, "Look at me in that game." So,
it would
um,
have been so good.
yeah,
Sorry,
it was.
we missed that opportunity.
It's fine. I totally get it, and I quickly learned how chaotic and how busy all of you guys are. Um, like on the days of shoots and things of that nature. But yeah, I have this clip which I don't see a reason why I couldn't share it, but I'm still holding on to it. It's great. It's when I first arrived because it's Kyle, and then Joe, and
Hmm.
then me. And then Kyle's like, "Oh, hey Frank, Peter's here." And then Joe sticks his head in, and you're like, "That's Peter." It was hilarious. So I have that, but it was just
Yeah.
the funniest thing. So
It
let
was
me
so
start off
great
with
to it was
yeah.
so great that I just want to say it was so great to have you come there because it's like there's so many times that people don't know what it really is like on set in when we're in production and our spaces. And I think it's really interesting to see behind the scenes and then you to come in and see the fitting room and see how it's not just like we're not just putting clothes on actors and sending them out to set. It is a whole it's a whole big family, and it really and our, this experience of Marty was much like that. You just like you got to follow the train and just run with it, and it's but that's because we all love each other and it's really fun.
So you know what? Let's talk about that, Frank. Well, I have never spoken to you about what it looks like in wardrobe, right? Like kind of your operations. Now that I got like a glimpse of it, so like on your typical day, the people that show up on the day of, that's not even necessarily like they're not even filming that day, right? So like, how do the scheduling of fittings work, and why fittings? Yeah, like the idea of a fitting.
Well, for each episode, I have a specific number of changes for each actor. And some of those will have, if it's a big stunt scene, they will have stunt doubles. And if they're, maybe they go in the water, maybe they need to have wire work or be harnessed, then they will have to have multiples of each of those outfits. And then for the stunt double and for the hero and for the actor. And then sometimes, like, especially with our actors that are not 18 yet, we have to have photo doubles for them. So, because they can only work limited hours, and they will get they will get replaced, like, not, we won't see their face, but they'll see the back of them, so they can still be that character in the scene as a photo double. But when the actual actor is not allowed to work, so our fittings are every episode we go through so many things, and it's scheduled through our department. And the second AD is the one who second assistant director is the one who kind of wrangles all of the logistics of the actors, whether it's getting them to set for their makeup call, or getting them to set for my fittings, or getting them to set for their call time for work. They're the key in all of that. And we like I have all the actors' phone numbers, so we talk directly, and they'll sometimes say like, "Hey, they just scheduled me for a fitting at 2, but I've got a dentist appointment, or like I really want to go to do this thing, or I'm gonna go see my family. Can we do it on a different time?" And so it's like it's a whole ebb and flow of things.
Yeah. So behind the scenes a little bit, I had me try on a chosen jacket, and I can't I
Mhm.
won't put that out until we see the return of this jacket. And surprisingly, I didn't fit it perfectly, obviously, but I was a little surprised it wasn't as long, like the arms, and so it was kind of nice. And so when you have like the actors stand on their marks, do they usually just like stand still? Is there posing? Because you had a little fun with me, and because
Oh yeah.
because my photos were live photos, and I went back and we captured where
Oh,
you
that's
told me
fun.
to like give you like some look, and I tried to do like something sexy. I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah, could you talk about
I
posing?
do that. I do that because when actors come in there and I dress them and they just stand there like, that doesn't do me any good, because I'm sure these are pictures for me and they're pictures for the showrunners, and sometimes it's also for the network or for people that have people that or even have more of a say in some things, like on the studio side or on the network side. So I always tell my actors to like give me a little action, like give me a little, and also I want to see how it looks. It's not just like here's how the clothes look. It is like it's a dynamic shot. So it's like give me a little body language, give me a little sex appeal, give me a little like throw a kick. Especially with my stunt when I do stunt fittings, and with my main actors who are going to be in a stunt in a costume. I make them throw kicks, I make them throw punches, I make them do like, okay, what is if you don't know what the action is, do some typical actions that might happen, because if you can't lift your leg in these pants, they're the wrong pants. So I got to get something else that works better for the action. It still looks like how I want it to look, but works for what has to happen. And that's a key thing, which is also why I make people move around. People like Jacob and people like Courtney are the biggest ham. So I actually have to tell them to, okay, give me a normal one, please. Just give me one standing still. Stop making a face. Pull the tissue out of your nose. I'm gonna post some fitting photos from this season once we get a little further in. Because I want to have more than just five. I want to have more than just 5 episodes of fitting photos to pull from. So I'm gonna do a little slideshow of like all of Courtney's like crazy antics and Jacob's wackiness, and it's really fun. And the thing too is to make these fittings fun. Not everybody likes to try on clothes. All of our cast are very professional, especially the younger cast members, incredibly professional. Some of them are Disney trained, but all of them are really, really great. And all the adults are all great as well. And it's also just making it fun, because it can be a little, that's part of the job. It's like I want it to be a good time in there, and I want to make that not something that they dread to go to.
And I may have asked like maybe the first time we spoke, but it's still a great question to kind of ask with a show that has so many people that you see often, like background students, your Miyagi Do's, these type of people. Um, because we've seen a lot of these faces over the seasons. Now, how do you? I guess like when it comes to their wardrobe, how do you decide what they're gonna wear, right? Because like for one person that doesn't maybe have a name, do you just say, well,
Mm-hmm.
this actor will just have these clothes? Like, how do you kind of decide who's going to be wearing what?
What's interesting is like all of our featured background all have character names. So it's like the actors that you've seen that may not have a speaking role or have never had a speaking role, but we've seen for 6 seasons, they have character names that were established in season one.
Or
In
oh,
season
okay,
one, no, in season one, the ones that have been around since season one, those names were established at the first All Valley competition,
right,
right? So because they were those that were Cobra Kai had their names in the fist
right.
patches, so those names have stuck around. And some of the other names that we had of people that did not return, we've repurposed those to other background people. So we kind of do give them all names, because it also helps us keep them straight. Like okay, who are you, Edwin, or are you Dimitri? I can't, not Dimitri, or Dieter. Who are you? Which one are you?
Right.
Um, so that's really fun. But it does go back to their original dojos, right? Those that joined us in like season 3 or 4 that were Eagle Fang. I try to keep them kind of in pace with that, especially in this season too, when we've got all the dojos are together. They're no longer I'm no longer. I broke down the color story from being like Miyagi are cool tones, Cobra Kai is black, red, and gold, and Eagle Fang is red and black, and it's now just a mix of everything. So those that were in multiple dojos can wear multiple different colors, and like I wanted it to look in the combo dojo. I wanted it to look like it wasn't just Miyagi and it wasn't just Eagle Fang, and those that were in Cobra Kai were still, perhaps still reflective of that. And it also makes it more visually dynamic when you have that many kids too.
Right. Okay, so let's start off with the logos. The first
Mm,
reveal was like I mentioned, the Hawk promo where we see the back of Hawk's gi
yeah.
and the eagle. How many well, first off, are you the one designing the logos? Are you working with art department when it comes to graphics?
It's a combo platter. It's a combo platter of I ended up taking on a lot of the graphics, of the design concepts of the graphics, and getting those approved through the boys. So I would like for the combo dojo, which we were calling the combo Miyagi Do, Eagle Fang Dojo. they pitched the concept of like how to bring these things together, much like in the thing is a scripted thing, right? So they're trying to figure out how to make it happen. But they had a general idea of wanting to integrate an eagle into the Miyagi logo, right? And we didn't want to really reinvent the world because we also knew that it was something that became it happened very quickly. It wasn't like suddenly, Daniel sent out all the Geese to be remade, right? So I was trying to think like what would Daniel LaRusso do, right? If he wanted to honor Eagle Fang, what and but still keep the gravitas of Miyagi and not have it be something a joke, right? And also to kind of level up to give Eagle Fang the chops that it deserves, right? Or the respect that it deserves, because it is it is its own discipline, and it's worthy of being part of Miyagi Do. So I talked about how to take an eagle, a proper eagle, and integrate it into the thing by putting it over the sunset. So the eagle is flying through the sun. It's part of the it's within. It's not consumed by it. It's not consumed by Miyagi Do, and it's not overpowering Miyagi Do. They're trying to keep the proper balance of those two things. And I went through a lot of versions of what the eagle looked like. There were some that were more aggressive, and some that were more like soaring, and some that were more straight on. And we finally settled on the one. I think I did like easily 10 versions of that in different places, in different sizes to get it right. And I settled on using that particular eagle, and I made it a patch. So the Miyagi logo is embroidered on the back of the practice Geese and the competition Geese. So I was thinking, okay, so Daniel wouldn't have had the time to make all the Geese new again, right? That would seem ridiculous. That'd be a ridiculous ask. But he could add a patch to the existing one. So we added it to like all of the practice Geese and all the competition Geese to integrate the two together in a respectful way.
Was there any big notes from John, Josh, and Hayden on the combined logo?
Oh yeah. I mean, the big notes were like we went around and around and around in circles about like what the eagle should look like.
Okay.
I think Hayden wanted it to be a little bit more aggressive, and John wanted it to be a bit more soaring, and Josh was like, I don't know, I don't maybe. But it was just really striking the right tone. So it's like me going through meant like 10 or 12 different shapes of eagles and colors of eagles. At one point, the eagle was red and black, to really nail that thing in. But then if we fell back to being a naturalistic eagle seemed like the right thing, to keep it from, again, keeping the respect and the gravitas of the disciplines together. The biggest notes were just like finding the right tone for the eagle.
So,
Then settling on
so,
this.
yeah.
Go
So,
ahead.
so it sounds like well, what I'm hearing is it was mainly about the ego. So it sounds like maybe the bonsai tree was always gonna still be there. It was a
Well,
matter of adding the ego.
correct.
Ah,
Exactly.
okay.
The bonsai tree, like that does not change. The Miyagi logo does not change. What we settled on was taking the eagle of Eagle Fang and bringing it into the Miyagi Do world, the Miyagi world. It would not have been appropriate to redo the Miyagi logo at all, because that's the history of that. And we modernized it in season one, so it wasn't the same logo that Mr. Miyagi's wife embroidered on the handkerchief that was then put on the back of the gi. Oh, I just almost gave you a spoiler. I have to not say that. But it's very exciting because the evolutions of the Miyagi Do logo is really key as a visual identifier. I mean, all the logos are, even the one that you're wearing, the new Korean Cobra Kai logo that I designed. And that is very satisfying because also it's getting these things right. I don't want to jump ahead too far, but like
Yeah.
it is striking the right tone with the thing, and also keeping it somewhat realistic. Like keeping it realistic, like what could be done with that eagle, and what is respecting both of those dojos without making it a joke, like the
Right.
like the Mr. Miyagi with fangs and the crossed eyes that Jacob and Dimitri thought would be a great idea.
Please share about that one. And it took me a while to realize that he actually had wings too. Like I think I was focused on everything else.
Yeah.
In the wings, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he actually has eagle wings.
It was everything in a blender, and that was like that. That was a fully art department thing because that never went on any sort of garments and or on a gi or anything. It solely was a presentation. So, but I was part of a lot of the conversations about it, and some people hated it, some people loved it, some people thought it was the best thing ever, and I just saw so many versions of that from our art director, and it was like, wow. I was glad that they got to feel that one. I did do the T-shirt of the half
Oh yeah,
logos. I designed that because that was something like, it was scripted and it was pretty simple to do. So I just basically sliced them in half, put them together, printed it on a shirt,
yeah.
and that was fun to do.
When because when we saw Jacob's gi in the promo, and it was the bonsai tree and the eagle, they still hadn't said that it was Miyagi-Do yet, right? Like that was the name that they ended up deciding on. But when that promo came out, I was like, it's Miyagi-Do. That's the only thing that makes sense because and I feel like you kind of like validate like all my thinking here is that the bonsai tree and Miyagi-Do is one of the most recognizable symbols in pop culture in the last 4 decades or nearly four
Mm-hmm.
decades, right? And so um you can make changes and stuff like that, but when it's mainly the bonsai tree, you don't call it anything else but Miyagi-Do. And so that's yeah. And my friend kind of equated it to like a like sports teams. Like over the years, they change, but ultimately it's still the same team.
It's still the same team. Yeah, it's still the same colors. It's still the same thing. And it's like it was important to keep it Miyagi-Do because there is a greater history of that. I mean, going all back to Shrimpo, it's like there is this the canon of the canon of the origin of Miyagi-Do that has come through Okinawa and all these other things, and what we'll learn more in this season of some more of the origin story. We'll learn a bit more of it. Um, but Eagle Fang is very new. Like Eagle Fang is the new thing, but it also is based in Cobra Kai. It's not entirely Cobra Kai because it became Johnny's own thing. And of in this journey of the series, it is following the path of Miyagi Do and it's following the path of Cobra Kai. And Eagle Fang has come in here as a third dojo, so it's important to recognize that it is also based in this more historic dojo and more historic discipline.
Yeah. So you were pointing at the shirt here. It's so can you talk about the discussion about taking another, iconic and very recognizable logo? And we've seen variations of it, right? We've seen like the Priest's Cobra Kai, we've seen Johnny's Cobra Kai. Stingray has a
Mm-hmm.
version of himself in part one here. We saw
Mm-hmm.
Silver's last year or last season where it's all red. And now this one, it's just like I look at that. It looks so familiar yet so different, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why it was a no-brainer. I had to get it when I saw it.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad. I really love. I put a lot of work into that. It doesn't. And when you get better images of the Korean Cobra Kai Sensei jackets,
Mm.
they're very exciting. They're very very cool. I wish I have one here. I wish I could show it to you. Can I show it to you? I don't know. I don't. It's.
Is it the you call it a sensei jacket now? I have to also be careful how I say this, but I saw what Team Korea wears in a sequence from episode 6, right? So that's the day that I visited. Is design the
Mhm.
same on what the like Quan and them wear?
The it is the design is the same. The key difference is that the senseis you will see in episode 6, you will see like all of them in full force. You'll see them in their gis, and you also see them in these jackets. I call them the sensei jackets because the senseis wear them. They walk in wearing these satin bomber jackets with a very specific logo on the back, and this logo on the sleeve. This logo that you're wearing on the sleeve, and other Korean Hangul words on the sleeve and on the back, and it was done as a tribute to the souvenir jackets that during the Korean War that the GIs would bring back, and I based the design on that concept because they are from Korea, and that's where these jackets came from, and it was really a matter of like adapting the Hangul into the right shape and the right font. And I actually owe a huge debt to Nate's mom, Hannah, who is actually a Korean translator. She's like fluent in Korean and everything, and was so both her and Nate were so helpful to me to like helping me to pick out the right font for the belts on the Korean practice dojos. Because I don't know if you caught that, but they say no mercy on
Right.
in embroidered in yellow on the belts. And I mean, when I was first designing that, before we get back to the jackets and the Cobra Kai logo, when I was first designing that, I came up with that concept. I pitched it to our stunt team senseis, and I pitched it to our writers, and they said, we love the idea. Let's go with it." And then I went to Hana and I said, like, look, you have to help me choose the right font. I've like, here's what it says. Help me translate this. You know, I didn't want to get it wrong. I didn't want it to have it say something inadvertently dumb or inadvertently inappropriate. So she really helped me like choosing the right hangul and then choosing the right font, because I chose like four really cool fonts I thought were really cool fonts, and I showed it to them. They said, "Oh no, 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 no! That's one looks like a cartoon character, like what a cartoon character would say. That one looks like a restaurant menu. This one looks like and I thought they looked badass, right?"
Yeah.
And so we went to a font generator, a Korean font generator, and they helped me pick out the fonts that looked the coolest, right from that point of from a native speaker's eye. And that was really key to me. The same thing with the hangul on the shirt you're wearing is phonetically Cobra Kai. It's like
Right.
it's right, which I think is really cool. And we went back and forth with a few other like options of like, what would it, something snake or what have you. And it came down to like, she just felt, and I agreed that like you would just say it would just be phonetic for
Right.
Cobra Kai, because John Kreese is the one who brought this too. I mean, so like in Korea, it was Master Kim's dojo. It didn't really have a name for it. But this logo comes from Kreese and Terry Silver, right? It would have originated the logo in the original movie. And so when Kreese goes to Korea and takes over the dojo and takes over the training and makes it into Cobra Kai, because that's the one that qualified for the Saikai Taikai, he brought that thing, but then Kim Dae-un is the one who would have like brought in, okay, well, it needs to be in Korean because we're in Korea. It's not going to say Cobra Kai like the other things, and let's make it white. Because of the albino snake in the cave, right? So this is like these are the things that all put together. The only direction I got, the only strong direction I got from the boys was that they wanted it to be white and black. They wanted it to be they wanted to get rid of the gold. They wanted to get rid of the red for the most part, except for the tongue and the eyes. And they said, just go. They just gave me, I mean, what I love about them and what I love about working with them and working on the show is the freedom they've given me to like, let my imagination run wild and pitch ideas. And they say, we would like this. And I go like, okay, great. I'm going to run with it. Do you like this? And there was about 7 different versions of the lettering, because I got very granular about how it was stretched here, how it was stretched there. Is it still legible? Does it evoke the original logo? What would Kreese have okayed that Kim Dae-un had offered to him? So that was a really fun thing, a really fun project.
I love it, and I didn't even know because we knew nothing about season 6. So when I show up, I'm already seeing something in part 2, not knowing what the hell happened in part 1. And so there's these
Mm-hmm.
new baddies that like I know nothing about. So like I'm gonna have to like meet
Yeah,
these actors not knowing anything about their characters. But
yeah,
once I saw them walk by with what the audience has not seen yet, I immediately
yeah,
thought badass. Like that
yeah,
is fire. And John was like, I can see you wearing one of those. I'm like, yeah, well, tell Frank to give me one.
yeah. Yeah, when the full, when we see them walking in full force, when you see all of them, and when there's a scene that I think you got to see where we're shooting in an aquarium, and it is like they look so militaristic and so
Yeah.
badass and so just like so tough and scary, which is so different from like I mean our California kids are badass, martial artists and really great at what they do, but they're not the same sort of like, they're not coming in to intimidate, right? Because they're Miyagi, right? They're defensive. They're not coming in, and Cobra Kai is all offense. And like it was really really fun to be given this opportunity to create new competition gis and the whole look, their non gi looks, as well as getting to do that in season 4 with the collaboration I designed with Champion Sportswear for like when Terry Silver took over and like and made it all uniform. So there was this foreshadowing then of this uniform in a sense of like very uniform colors, restricted patterns, restricted styles, that then carries over into the Korean dojo in season 6. Two seasons later.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the geese that we see, Kwan Yoon, those guys in
Mm-hmm.
in episode 3. So we have like a kind of a black and white top, and then black trousers with the red stripe. Can you talk about that design?
Yeah, so that was basically based on the flashbacks that we did in season. I remember which season was. What was the season that we did the flashbacks to young Kreese and young Silver in Korea?
With young Sensei Kim, young Sarah
Yes.
Ann.
With
Yeah,
yeah,
season
with yeah, yeah, yeah.
5, 5.
Was that season 5? It's a blur. So in season 5, we did the flashbacks to like to the origins of
Kim Jong
Kreese
Young.
and
Oh,
Silver.
oh,
Yeah, yeah, and Kim Dae-un, and the at when they were when Silver and Kreese were students of Master Kim in Korea, when they were like encouraging them to let young Kim Dae-un train as well. Those were the uniforms of the gi at the time. And so I wanted to keep the heart of that when I moved into the modern day version of that, because it's still Master Kim's dojo. Gis don't stay, nothing is static, everything changes. I didn't want to do just exactly the same gis that those two wore like 40, 50 years ago. So I took the idea of that, the white with the white top and the black bottom. I added the red. So I kept the red stripe on the side to be the origin of the red in the Cobra Kai logo in the original movie, right? So this is like where the red comes from, and then the adding the black. I wanted to have that black contrast there to make it a little bit more dynamic, and then also to reverse that for the sensei. So it's like the senseis in the sense of like a black belt is they're all black belts, but like the senseis are the more black belt or the more advanced of them all. So to flip the colors of the tops for the senseis was like to make them stand out, but to also be part of the same part of the same army.
right. Yeah, because Sensei Kim and Kreese, they're wearing like the black, like almost inverted, right? With the white.
Exactly,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Okay, let's see. Oh, so Mike fucking Barnes comes back, episode
Mike fucking
4.
Burns.
Mike fucking Barnes,
Yeah,
and I when I first saw him in his gi, I was like, I love the colors, and I was like, I wonder where he got that from. And correct me if I'm wrong. They actually cut to a flashback of the last time Mike Barnes was in the backyard, and he actually has a shirt that's black and red. Was that an
yeah.
inspiration, or did you start from scratch?
I started a little bit from scratch. I tried to keep his colors since he is like Cobra Kai. He is Cobra Kai, but he's not like, I don't know. I wanted him to have his own thing as he's had his own journey. He's a 10th degree black belt. I wanted him to have his own identity separate of everything of all the other dojos that we've seen. And he doesn't really have his own dojo, but he has his own gi. And we can assume that because he'd been to Saikai Taikai, he knows what it's all about. So that would have been, it could have been the team that he competed on, or it was I put in the style of karate that he practices, that Sean practices himself, and made that integrated it into the gi, because I wanted it to feel like it was actually his own thing. And he's a badass. He's a tough guy. He's like he is the fixer, right? So what is more intimidating and scary than like a red and black gi? And that I'd put him in those colors previously was a good way to just carry that through.
Okay. Let me see. Now, you kind of mentioned a little bit earlier about the how you went away from the color schemes for like the kids because now they're buying dojos. Was there
Mm-hmm.
any other looks that you could think of? Like, I feel most of the characters were pretty much the same. I'm not sure. The legacy characters, for example. Like, I don't think there was really anything different you did with them this season.
Not really. I mean, the biggest thing that I did was like I let Samantha be a little, keep her in her more feminine colors, but let her be like all over the place. Let her have her. In previous seasons, she was very restricted to what dojo she was most aligned to, or whom she was dating at the time. So like when she was like flirting with Eagle Fang, it was getting a little purpley to her blue. When she was full Miyagi, she was much cooler tones. When and early on she was very feminine, but lots of pink, and she's still very girly in that respect. And I like what a badass she is, and can still be, still doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be butcher. It doesn't have to be tough. You can still be like, you can be pretty and beautiful and feminine and still kick ass, which I think is a really great thing to show. But I also just let her wear a lot of different colors, a lot of more greens and yellows and just colors that haven't traditionally been in her palette, because she's just now finding herself. She's being her own person within the Miyagi Do.
And now I do feel bad because I really didn't do the comparison, but the suit that Johnny wears as he goes to work for LaRusso, that's
Yeah.
not the same suit, is it? It's not brown.
It is the
I can't
exact
even.
same. It's the
It
exact
is.
same suit from season one, where we like he goes to the board, and it's like I seriously I had to hunt it down. I was like digging through the crates of the past seasons. It's like, because when I read that, the minute I read it, I said, okay, dig it out, find the boxes. I don't care where they are. It has to be that suit, because it's his only suit. Why would he have another suit? Like, I was trying to think about it. That was a big challenge too, to like figure out, what does Johnny Lawrence wear to work at LaRusso. He's not going to go out and buy. He can't afford to buy suits. He's like, he can't barely afford to fix the ceiling of his apartment. And he's still driving the Eagle Fang mobile. So coming up with something that could be appropriate, would still feel like Johnny Lawrence, but would be appropriate to be a car salesman, but is not like, he's not fully drinking the water. He's not, turning into a mini Daniel. So using like the LaRusso merch, like, so like the LaRusso half zips, and things like that, but over his the three times I think we see him in the LaRusso logo half zips. He's wearing like a band. He's like an ACD t-shirt under there, or a Van Halen t-shirt. He's like still he's still the bass. He's still bass Johnny. He's just throwing on the LaRusso drag, if you will, to be in this thing, and to get, to make some money and to be part of that whole world. Which is that was a
Right.
that was a it was a fun little challenge to figure that out.
Yeah, it was funny to see it, and my thought was like, it's not the same suit, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah, and
But
I'm so glad that you caught that, because it was super important to me for that to be the same suit, shirt, and tie, the same exact thing from that last season.
I think if anybody that's a more casual fan, unlike the ones that like us who like to rewatch these episodes, I think the discussion of the suitcase is like, well, that's a callback to the first season when he shows up with an empty suitcase to the All Valley
Yeah,
meeting, so
yeah,
I
yeah,
really dig
exactly.
that. As we get ready to wrap up, and I know you can't say a whole lot about the upcoming episodes, but we did see in a special feature called Inside the Dojo on Netflix, they gave you really quick glimpses of things that we will, see in the upcoming scene, like the kicking sequence with Quan and all of them
Mhm.
in episode 6. And then we saw stuff with, oh well, actually the end of episode 5. I guess hello, we saw a bunch of different dojos.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
without obviously what you're able to share, but if you can kind of just shed light on your creative process on coming up with designs for these different countries, and also were any of these just real dojos, through people just connected to the show or something.
That's great. That's great. I think I can say a few things about that. I don't know if I can mention the exact countries, but
No, no, yeah.
there are 16. My challenge, and one of my favorite challenges of the season, was to create 16 unique global karate dojos that are visually distinctive, that look like they're from their places, that look like they're from their countries, and also don't look like they were designed by the same person, right? So I'm one person making these global entities that are all coming together and going to be in one room. How do I make this visually dynamic? How do I make this like look like it is like they are from their own places, other than like, the people wearing them? How do I make this look like it represents the countries they are from? And how do I also represent the authenticness of a karate tournament. Like in a real global karate tournament, they would be all in the same white gis with different colored, either blue or red belts. And that would be about the different, that's how you tell the different teams. And you wouldn't, there would not be unique gis for each country. Since this is our own competition that we made, we got to make up the rules, but I still wanted to keep it appropriate and authentic to what a competition would be like. So these are all authentic gis. They're all karate gis. They're all designed. Some I had to dye to match to be the color I wanted to them to be because they're not available in the colors that I wanted. So I got like proper competition gis in white and then had them dyed to match. Three of our which we will see three of our main competitors in the Sekai Taikai are ones that I custom dyed. And then it's a matter of embroidery, it's logos, it's existing patches for like real disciplines, real karate disciplines, and adding the trim, like things like I've done with Eagle Fang and with Cobra Kai, adding elements to it to make them visually dynamic and really distinctive to each country. And it was such an amazing challenge to do that. And I have to give a lot of props to our stunt senseis because they are martial artists and they compete on national levels and global levels. They are steeped in this world. So I would run a lot of my ideas past them and go like, Don, does this look good or does this look dumb? Right? I think this looks really cool, but if you saw this in a karate competition, we'd go like, oh, I don't know about that, And there were some of my concepts. We also had a lot of like background artists that were like representing non-competing teams of the past or the current times they could have more leeway with. And a couple of my ideas, he was like, I don't know so much about that, but this is really good. And he gave me it made me feel really confident in what I was doing. And to have an expert there to like say, yeah, of course it looks right. You're nailing it. I want one of those. Why hasn't someone hired you to make these for them? Why can't we get them, commercially? That would be it was really gratifying. It was really super fun to just really take the identity of each country and distill it into an aesthetic that is appropriate to the competition, appropriate to the martial art, and appropriate to the stunts at hand.
And obviously, without revealing details, are any designs nods slash Easter eggs to stuff in pop culture? Like not that this is one, but like the Power Rangers themed movies. Like is there something like that where you guys like, oh, we like the look from this property, let's make something kind of based off of that. Is there anything like that that we will be seeing?
I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything like that specifically. Well, I really wanted because like it's such a globally, such a global fan base that I didn't want to inadvertently piss someone
Hmm.
off by or disrespect them in any way. So it's like if I want people that are fans of this in another country, to look at it like, oh, you nailed it. It looks like they're from this country. It looks like they're from that country. It looks like they're from, and I did look, what I looked at was where is our show the most popular, right? So I went to because it's Netflix has released the breakdown of like of where what our viewership is in different countries. So I went through and like worked with both the writers and the art department to come up with which countries we really should be. There were some that were scripted specifically. Our like I think our four, maybe six. There were six main countries that are featured in the battles with Cobra Kai and Miyagi, and so those we knew, but then I still had 16 other teams to do, and I had to come up with the different countries, and I got they gave me a lot of latitude to choose which countries those would be, and then that also got filtered into the leaderboard, so those because all have to be represented, and it, each different language I had to make sure that I had translated properly. So we like went through like because if they're from an Asian country, I got to get the Asian language right. If they're from if they're from a Spanish speaking country, I got to make sure that Spanish is right. We got to make sure that everything is accurate because like you were saying earlier, you're talking about how fans and I care very much to get it right. Like like I was saying earlier, I don't want to inadvertently disrespect someone by having, I don't know, the Portuguese wrong, because of the language I don't know well, right? And that would be embarrassing and disrespectful. So it's like I put a lot of work into making sure that these things were as accurate as possible. And also just look like, I would love to see, like, when this all comes out, I'd love to see groups of people from different countries dressed up like the geese I designed. It would be so satisfying.
That would be really cool. Like when I spoke with you about Obliterated, and having like
Yeah,
cosplay as that team, this would be
yeah.
so cool, like for these countries to see them represented on their favorite show, and then they start like trying to get the swag that looks like, their team on the show. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, the idea of that is really, really cool. Let's see. Yeah, the getting the language thing is really interesting because it's like getting a tattoo. You don't get a language you don't understand because you're just picking words and you want to put them together. That can change the entire meaning
Yeah.
like in that language, like speaking with like Brandon and stuff like that, and Daniel, J. Kim, they discussed how well our scripts were in English and we were supposed to come up with a translation, and they had to like
Hmm.
really nail not only the translation but the context. Like, is what we
Yeah.
saying is just what makes sense because a lot of different so their language sounds very complicated. So I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I designed the first season of Queen of the South, and in that, like, that was also all written in English, but there's a lot of it was Spanish, and the Spanish, when it was translated in Spanish on the page, it wasn't conversational Spanish to our native Spanish speaking actors. And so they spent a lot of time on set, like figuring out how to make this sound natural, how to make this sound like a native speaker, or like a person. You'd say it differently if you're from Mexico City than you would if you were, from the countryside, or if you were from, the Yucatan. So it's like it's that same thing of like, it's so amazing. Like Daniel and Brandon are so great. They were so good and so incredible actors and incredible martial artists. It's unbelievable. I can't wait for everybody to really see what they can do, because you got a little taste, right? But like
very
what's
little.
coming up is really awesome. It's really, really awesome. And they just take it so, like, all of us we're very passionate about this project, about this show, and about getting it right. And it's no one's phoning it in, so the work that they do as native speakers, is invaluable.
Yeah. It's the last and final season, and so like go hard to go home, right? That is the expression.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, me
Again,
too.
you can't reveal, but with like dojo names and the logos, are you in those discussions as well? Like coming up with the
Yes.
dojo names?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah. I was very happy to be looped in with that. Like all because like all 16 dojos had to have their own names, right? And even whether they were featured or not. So I was very grateful to be able to be looped in on that, and to put my opinion in and have that listened to when they felt like it was the right thing. Like, this sounds a little clunky, or can we lose a, there's the need to be a the here? Can it be just like dot dot dot? And also just like aesthetically, like working with the art department, like I would say, okay, here's the logos I'm looking for. Here's what I'm basing off these other things, and they would come up with some amazing stuff. And then I would like suggest a color change or a shift here or shift there, and then translate that into embroidery or screen printing into all of the on the backs or the fronts of the geese was like quite the challenge. It was a big. I mean, it took months of time to start. Even we knew it was coming up. We hadn't got the scripts yet, but we knew what they were going to be. And so it was like, okay, I have to start designing these things and ordering these things in, making these things, preparing all this stuff, and then working my screen printer, my embroiderer to to the bone to get them done in time. But it's 100% worth it. The feeling, and the audience, you'll see it. The audience will see it, like when when I saw all of the teams gathered together in the thing in our first day of all, I don't know, it felt like 1,000 extras, but um, it it shivers, just total shivers to see it all come together, and then to watch them all fight is like even more exciting.
did it seem like a kind of like the Olympics, right? Like all these different
100%,
countries for like
100%.
yeah, huge competition. Oh, so exciting. When we first heard in season five, in the episodes about the Sekai Tekai, and I'm like but how is this gonna be, how are they gonna make it feel bigger than the All Valley? Like you're calling it like
Mm,
the world tournament, like how do you do that? But just the bits and pieces, like I think with part one at the very least, it does seem global, because that was a little concern for me.
yeah.
just filming out
We
Atlanta. How do you make
have, I mean, our DP Abe is like
yeah.
amazing. He's really amazing. Like what he can do, the magic he pulls, and to be on the set. I mean, and it was a massive set, right? So we had a huge auditorium we were shooting in. We had it packed to the gills with people, and then to be like on the set with a stunt team, like doing the thing, choreographing the fight, seeing the fight happen, and you're watching it like I'm watching it like on the monitor, and then looking past the monitor and seeing it happen right there in front of me, and then having all of the people behind them and around them making it even big. It was such a feat, and it was really hard. It was really hard on all of us, but it was so satisfying and so worth it.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. Now, I'll end it with this just to kind of circle back on the Cobra Kai gi that we see at the end of episode 5. Very simple. Can you just talk about the idea of that look and any other ideas you had considered before selling on what we see the final? You mentioned the no mercy on the belt. What
Yeah.
were some other details that we may have missed just from that little bit of the three Cobras, including
I
Peyton, I
what
guess, or Corey. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wanted to keep it very simple. I wanted to keep it stripped down because, like, in my mind, and in the sense of it all, is like going back to the Korean Cobra Kai is stripped it down to its essentials. So I wanted to get rid of like the yellow stripe of the California Cobra Kai at first. I wanted to have it be like really just clean and pared down to its essentials, which is what I wanted it to look very different from the American Cobra Kai. Like the original Cobra Kai outfits are like they are as American as you can get in a martial arts. I think it has become such a California American aesthetic of that, right? So the sleevelessness showing off the muscles to have these gis be such a departure from that. Like
Mm.
I really wanted that to be so. I wanted the influence of Kim Dae-un and Master Kim and the whole different discipline that they were doing out there, to be really be reflected in the gi. So I kept it simple. The biggest thing was keeping the belts from the practice gis, which are black with the embroidery, like you said, the no mercy on it. The gi pants have the red stripe, and then the rest is just very very simple. The
Yeah.
only other thing that was embellished was like Quan has the Beijing like for the as the number one.
Right, of the student. And because we're talking about season 6, this is a question I could still hold. I mean, I could still ask you again later on, but as of right now, of
Mm.
what we've seen, what I would say it's kind of a two-parter, I guess. Like, what is your favorite gi that you designed, and kind of like your one favorite look of everything we've seen so far since season 1? Maybe a favorite
Since
logo or a
season
favorite
one,
gi. Yeah, you've done so much, and must have a few
I
favorites.
mean, my favorite thing that I got to do was probably the Cobra Kai champion collaboration.
Okay.
That was really great to design a cohesive collection for just for one dojo using and getting to interpret the logo and the words in so many different ways, and getting to do that again with the satin jackets for this season. That's probably one of my most satisfying designs of the whole thing. um uh, actually getting to create Eagle Fang, the geese for that was really satisfying. There are two, our main competitors, which we'll find out in Seikai Taikai. There's two main challengers to Cobra Kai, and beyond Cobra Kai and Miyagi. There's two main global challengers that I really love how they turned out. I really love how they turned
Mm.
out. There's a few others in there that are strong contenders, and I think everyone's going to have a favorite, whether it's the country that they associate with or just aesthetically. But yeah, there are two main. I feel like I really nailed it with the two main competitors for Seikai Taikai.
So
Yeah,
we may
yeah,
not have
those are
even
my favorites.
seen some of your favorites yet. Wow. Okay.
You
That's
have not. You have not. No, no, no. You have not. It's coming. And also, I'll keep it generic. There's a flashback I've forgotten which episode it is, but I think it's in the second block. There's a flashback, that was very satisfying to do. because it was as flashbacks often are, it's a period piece, and it gives some really interesting origin story to things, and it is very satisfying. It was very, very satisfying.
Or like in terms of like the aesthetics for the time period or like a design of something.
All of it. I mean, all of
Oh,
it.
okay.
There's the aesthetics of a time period. There's something I got to interpret.
Hmm.
There's something I got to interpret, like what it would have looked like so many years ago that
Okay.
we've seen. Something we'd be familiar with now. That I get to interpret like how it looked originally. Um, and then just having all of the period pieces together. And when you work on a contemporary show, I have a lot of fun with it. But like it's a different thing when you get to try to really nail a period piece and get it really right, you know. And this, yeah, there's some. I got to do some really great research and some really great recreate some really great stuff for that.
The and we'll end it with this. You mentioned the flashback, so that reminded me of Tori's flashback in episode 5. Heartbreaking, but that wasn't too long ago. I don't even think it was over 10 years in Showtime for like young Tori. Was there
Yeah,
any thought into like well, this is probably like late 90s or I guess early aughts, then the style probably hasn't changed too
yeah.
much, right? Like was there any special
It
notes for that sequence?
it hasn't. We did the math to figure out which year it was exactly, and I've forgotten exactly what year it was. But you're right, it's early aughts. And so I just went through and I just did a lot of research. I looked at catalogs at the time. I looked at like where she might have where she might have shopped. Like Gap was big, and
Mm.
and the aesthetics have not changed a ton. I mean, H&M was around then, like that. And for kids of that age, there wasn't that much of a change. Um, I feel like I got a logo shirt. I got a logo shirt.
And also like
I don't
she's a
remember
kid,
what
so it's not
which
like
one
she's
it.
dressing herself, baby.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, exactly. So I mean, like anything, I do the research to get it as right as possible because people will remember. They go like, oh, that was 2002, and that I remember wearing that when I was a kid, or I still have that T-shirt or whatever. It's like that's the fun stuff for me to get right.
Or Doug Martens or something. Like I remember those back in high
Yeah,
school.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
All right, Frank. Well, thank you so much for your time and some really great teases for the upcoming parts. I really can't wait. Just in all the articles that been coming out talking about all these things, when speaking with John, Josh, and Hayden, and some of the little reveals of what's to come. I think we're all very, very excited. But yeah, 5 episodes out of the way, and we pretty much have like an entire season left of Cobra Kai.
Yeah,
So,
we really do. Yeah. Always great
all
talking to
right.
you, Peter. It was a delight. I'm so glad you got to come visit us on set too.